Mystical Progenitors. This is internet personality Vangelus, and Lawrence Fishburne's Transformers debut is also in the opening wave of Prime Changer figures. Alpha Trion comes bearing many speculative questions given his clear plot presence in the trailers we've seen, and his Prime Changer also begs the question of whether this price point can deliver on not only an unconventional bot mode, but also a quadrupedal bestial alt mode.
This video was sponsored in part by ToyHacks.com. Use the code BACK2SCANGELUS through the month of September 2024 for 15% off your order of labels and other paraphernalia. Using the code supports the channel. Supporting the channel feeds the machine.
Listen, pal, I haven't seen the movie yet, so I have no idea how screen accurate this figure is. He's clearly not as scuffed, worn, and moss-ridden as his main trailer appearance, so the Prime Changer appears to be Alpha Trion in his better days before falling into disrepair. It's also worth noting that while his rear view is kind of ugly, those two huge pieces of lion mode make for a really decent cape silhouette. The sculpt seems pretty close to the nicest still I could find from one of the trailers, but it also became clear rather quickly that this figure is missing a lot of purple on the chest and feet, which is kinda surprising given how much paintwork is present on the toy. Two metallics, one silver, and one reddish purple give a lot of visual bang to Prime Changer Alpha Trion, with his entire head sculpt being covered in the stuff. Alpha Trion has two accessories, a very classic Transformers tail weapon, and a very odd little spike thing. Before any of you make the social sacrifice, I did just about every brutally degenerate hole test I could with that veiny textured Allspark Blue penetrator that I could think of during the stream where I opened up this guy and Optimus Prime. It all exists in VOD containment.
Prime Changer Orion has two peg holes, says Emperor Nova 01, while Alpha Trion has two suspicious pokey things. What did they mean by this? I don't know. I haven't seen the movie yet. The 3mm is just too tight no matter what. It's made of like, you know, it's a palm, it's rigid, it's a little bit give, but it's rigid. Like this one, it goes in as much as you like it to, right? Easy. But up here, it doesn't quite fit. Gotta stretch it out. I'm not stress marking my... You can stretch out your Orion pack / Optimus Prime. It fits in there too. It's not 5mm. It only fits the tip.
Anyway, there is an interesting visual when you plug both weapons into the same hand, as it kind of resembles an ornate cane. I have absolutely no idea how any of this relates to screen accuracy, but I'm sure the storage solutions are completely toy exclusive, as the tail can tab into a dedicated slot on one side of the cape, while the horny spike can attach to any available peg on the cape's edge. You can also just put it in its alt mode spot, which is arguably more secure than having it float around near the figure's arms.
I don't know what it is about this figure, but at a glance I thought, oh, he might not be all that articulated. I was wrong. There's a ball socket head, and it's got a little bit of tilt, as well as being able to look around, look up, way up. There's a big ball socket shoulder with a cut in the top, so that you can almost T-pose. There is an elbow hinge, goes about 90 degrees. There is a bicep swivel, and then partly from the transformation, there's a forearm and thus basically wrist swivel. So fully articulated arms with all the basics. The cape, it's mostly a big plank, but it has a transformation hinge that can click up like this. And I think this works as a piece of cape articulation for, at the very least, if you want it out of the way of some stuff, right? There is also an unhindered big waist cut, big ball socket hips, which are not really limited in any way, shape, or form, and they're big enough to have a little bit of built-in wiggle, but then you also have a dedicated thigh swivel, and a knee hinge goes like 92 degrees, and then just big sideways ankle tilts. Big ass sideways ankle tilts. So Alpha Trion is what I guess I could call deceptively articulated for what looks like a somewhat simple non-generations toy. That ain't the case. This guy can do some stuff.
Prime Changer Alpha Trion does not really reinvent the wheel in transforming from a robot to a quadruped. In fact, it feels like he studied his history pretty well. The arms turn into front limbs, the legs turn into back limbs, and a big shell clamps over the head and chest. But I will say that the toy does a textbook transformation quite well, feeling like a solid Beast Machines basic, and doing just enough with each step to not bore me, while also not overstaying its welcome before I attach the tail weapon and complete the journey to Lion mode. There is precedent for Alpha Trion turning into a lion, and I'm gonna lay it out like this. Let's take it as granted that in the Transformers 1 continuity that's a thing that he does, because he's not a terrible cybernucleic felis quadruped. The color layout is reshaped and bolstered by the bountiful curvature of the mane, and slightly dragged down by the flat allspark blue of the tail and horn. Yes, horn! Alpha Trion of Universe Uno has a horn in lion mode. It can wiggle. Look, I still haven't seen the film. This may all make sense once I see it. On the bright side, that lion head sculpt, aside from the horn, looks decently fierce, and reaps the benefit of a happy coat of purple paint. Due to how he transforms, Alpha Trion's lion mode enjoys a full range of articulation in his rear limbs, with the bonus of the digitograding transformation joints if you so choose to use them. The front limbs are in a similar position, getting a whole lot out of the elbow hinge and its bicep and forearm swivels. And if you untab the shoulders, you get that full range as well. In fact, tabbing the shoulders feels a little superfluous, so maybe just don't. The lion's head and body don't do anything, but 4 workable limbs is more than some other Transformers Beast modes can achieve. This is a messier looking toy than Prime Changer Optimus Orion Pax Prime, but Prime Changer Alpha Trion is beefier and mathematically more articulated than his classic student. Bottom line, a lot of this hinges on whether or not you are into the robot mode's cape. If you can roll with what it's trying to do, you've got a surprisingly playable figure in a very unique aesthetic. If you can't get over it, well, you gotta live your own life. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and I hope this video serves as an interesting time capsule of the brief era before the release of Transformers 1 where someone like me could stand on a soapbox and declare, "I have no idea what the horn is for, but I tried it in a bunch of holes."